Invincible just wrapped 3 seasons of the most brutal and emotionally devastating superhero storytelling ever animated. What begins as a familiar superhero origin story slowly reveals something far darker beneath the surface, escalating from street-level heroics into consequences that reshape families, cities, and eventually the fate of the entire planet. Here's everything that happened across all 3 seasons of Invincible. The world of Invincible resembles our Earth, except it's populated with people who have superpowers. Mark Grayson lives as the son of Omni-Man, Earth's strongest superhero, who arrived years ago from the advanced planet Viltrumite. Omni-Man told everyone that his civilization reached such an advanced stage that they decided to help less developed worlds. Each Viltrumite possesses incredible strength, flight, and near indestructibility. Mark doesn't develop powers until age 18, but when they finally manifest, he gains the same abilities as his father. He decides to follow in Omni-Man's footsteps, becoming the superhero Invincible. The first major crisis occurs when the Guardians of the Globe receive an urgent call to their headquarters, but it turns out to be a trap. Omni-Man brutally kills each hero one by one, then injures himself to make it look like he was attacked. The Global Defense Agency arrives to investigate, but can't prove Omni-Man's guilt, so they take him to a hospital while beginning their investigation. Creatures from a parallel universe called Flaxons attack Earth, and since the Guardians are gone, a youth superhero league tries to stop them. This team includes Atomic Eve, who can manipulate matter and energy, Duplicate, who creates copies of herself, Rex, who empowers objects with explosive energy, and Robot, whose story becomes crucial later. Cecil decides to test Invincible's loyalty and capabilities by sending him into space where he meets Alan, an alien who explains the existence of the coalition of planets created to protect worlds from galactic-scale threats. The Global Defense Agency resembles new Guardians of the Globe, with robots selecting members including Rex and Duplicate from the Youth League, plus Monster Girl, who transforms into a monster but gets younger with each change. Atomic Eve refuses to join because Rex cheated on her, choosing to become a lone hero instead. Cecil sends Mark on a mission to Mars where humanity has a secret research expedition. Mark's job is to secretly protect the astronauts without being seen. The research group gets attacked by locals, and Mark saves almost everyone. But one infected person left on Mars destroys the Martian civilization through contact with creatures called sequids. A criminal named Titan works for local crime boss Machine Head. Titan contacts Invincible for help destroying Machine Head, and Mark agrees. When they arrive, several supervillains attack and nearly kill Mark. Omni-Man watches his son struggle and calls the new Guardians to rescue him. The truth about Omni-Man finally emerges when he reveals to Mark that Viltrumites aren't benevolent protectors, but conquerors who spent years exterminating the weak on their home world. They decided to conquer other worlds, but as their empire grew, it became difficult to conquer new planets with scattered forces. So they developed a new strategy: send individual Viltrumites to target worlds disguised as heroes to weaken planetary defenses. Then, when the Viltrumite army arrived, the population couldn't resist. Omni-Man's mission was exactly this: weaken Earth for eventual conquest. He asks Mark to join him, but Mark refuses and takes Earth's side. After a brutal battle where countless innocent people die, Omni-Man defeats Invincible but doesn't kill him. Instead, he leaves Earth, something no Viltrumite has ever done before. Season 2 begins with Mark deeply depressed while Cecil believes he's not ready for major responsibilities. Levi helps the Mahler twins escape and asks for a facility to merge the minds of all his copies. Cecil learns of strange activity and sends Mark to investigate. Mark accidentally destroys the installation, but the Mahlers and main Levi Angstrom survive. Now the mutated scientist has hundreds of consciousnesses in his head and wants revenge on both his Omni-Man and our Mark Grayson. Mark, Amber, and best friend William enroll in university, but Mark's constant absences for superhero duties strain his relationship with Amber. Cecil notes that Invincible got sick from the monster's scream and orders research to create a weapon against Viltrumites. Aliens convince Mark to fly to their planet to save them from catastrophe. When he arrives, he finds Omni-Man, creating mixed emotions. Mark can't forgive his father, but misses him incredibly. Omni-Man's been wandering space, but accidentally noticed crashing aliens, saved them, and fell in love with a local resident on their planet. Mark learns he has a brother who grows very fast due to genetic features. The planet gets attacked by Viltrumites. Omni-Man is imprisoned and scheduled for execution, while General Craig orders Mark to return to Earth and prepare for Viltrumite invasion. If he doesn't, millions will suffer. Mark recovers for 2 months, then returns to Earth with his brother. Cecil sees that Robert is failing to lead the Guardians effectively, so he puts Immortal in charge and adds a new member called Bulletproof. A Martian who came with the returning astronauts has the ability to take any appearance and change his body. Shapesmith joins the Guardians, believing no one noticed he's an alien, but everyone has figured it out. A huge ship approaches from Mars, so Cecil asks Shapesmith what he knows. They're flying to Earth to take over all humans. Cecil sends Guardians and Invincible to intercept the ship. Mark's mother, Debbie, begins caring for his brother Oliver and hires a babysitter who admits to working for Cecil. While other Guardians were in space, Cecil sends Rex, Duplicate, and Ray on a mission, but forces are unequal. Duplicate is killed, Ray nearly dies, and Rex gets his arm chopped off and shot in the head. From his last strength, he defeats the villains and survives, realizing he was selfish and ready to change. Donald discovers Duplicate's not dead and begins guessing something's wrong. He finds a tape of himself dying at Omni-Man's hands and learns he's a cyborg. Cecil explains Donald has died many times saving people and was restored each time while erasing his memory, which Donald himself wanted. If you're excited for the next season arriving in March and want to catch every connection and callback that makes Invincible such a masterfully constructed story, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. We're covering all the details that will enhance your viewing experience when the new episodes drop. Mark remembers that before Viltrumites took his father, Omni-Man told him he could find answers in his books. Mark's mother threw them away, but Mark goes to Art Rosen to talk, discovering the old man still has Omni-Man's books. Mark reads them and realizes they describe things that could theoretically help fight Viltrumites. Thaddeus reveals he's a Viltrumite who rebelled against his own people. Hearing about Mark Grayson from Earth, Thaddeus has hope they can handle the enemy, so he sends Alan back to Invincible with an offer to join the Coalition. Alan reaches Earth and asks Mark to join them, but Mark can't leave Earth when it's constantly threatened. However, Mark tells Alan about his father's books and things that can harm Viltrumites. Alan takes off but comes across a Viltrumite ship where he's attacked. Alan has become much stronger and can defeat his enemies, but to get information, he pretends to lose and gets taken prisoner. Alan meets Omni-Man in prison and offers to escape together, realizing the man has repented and wants to confront the Viltrumites. A Viltrumite named Anna suddenly appears while Mark and Amber are on a date. She threatens to kill Amber if Mark resists. Anna just wants to talk and asks if Mark is willing to take his father's responsibility and help enslave Earth. Mark refuses, and Anna beats him severely, warning that next time they come, they'll kill millions if he doesn't obey. Amber breaks up with Mark, realizing they're on completely different levels. The mutant scientist Angstrom finally acts, taking Mark's family hostage and planning to kill Mark. He wears out Invincible by throwing him from dimension to dimension. When exhausted Mark returns home, he sees Angstrom has beaten his mother. Mark goes berserk and beats the scientist. They're transported to an abandoned world where Mark kills Angstrom. Mark is shocked he killed someone and thinks he can't return, but suddenly a portal opens and Guardians from his world's future appear. Atomic Eve confesses she's always loved him. Mark returns home and decides to drop college to become stronger and learn self-control if he wants to be better than his father. Season 3 begins 3 months later with Mark training to become stronger. He remembers Eve's words from the other reality and thinks about confessing his feelings. Eventually he does, and he and Eve start dating. Multia is sent to prison as an assassin working for a major crime syndicate called the Order. The Guardians learn Duplicate is alive and about to marry Immortal. Doc Seismic escapes prison. Controlling underground creatures, he kidnaps all American superheroes and causes total havoc. Even Invincible and Eve can't stop him. Cecil uses his trump card. Cyborgs created by the mad scientist, plus former superhero Darkwing, who went off the rails and started killing people. Together, they defeat Seismic. Mark isn't happy about using cyborgs and a former villain for good purposes. He breaks into the Pentagon demanding explanation from Cecil, believing it's impossible to use such methods. Cecil tries explaining there are exceptions, but Mark disagrees and behaves aggressively. Cecil calms him using cyborgs and a special chip causing unbearable pain. Mark escapes and flies to the Guardians, asking for help. Cecil demands they not interfere, but Mark's friends disagree with the Guardian leader's actions. They fight off cyborgs and remove Mark's chip. Mark informs Cecil he no longer works for him. The Guardians split up. Monster Girl, Rex, Bulletproof, Ray, and Robot leave. Immortal, Shapesmith, Samson, and Duplicate remain, joined by Darkwing, who claims to have changed. Oliver, Mark's brother, grows beyond his years and acquires powers much earlier than normal for Viltrumites. This doesn't please Mark or his mother, since Oliver is still a child who doesn't understand many things. Mark promises to teach him fighting. Together they go to Art Rosen, where they make new costumes. Oliver chooses the nickname Omni-Man, and Mark explains this is a bad choice since people haven't recovered from their father's evil deeds. Mark learns of an incident at a military base where the Mahler brothers plot to launch a missile, shutting down all electronics on the planet. Mark asks Oliver not to join the fight and just watch, but Oliver doesn't listen. While Mark tries stopping the rocket, Oliver mercilessly kills both villains. The boy is indifferent to human lives, so his loved ones give him a serious talk. Oliver begins realizing there are things you shouldn't do even when fighting bad guys. Two time travelers appear and kidnap Mark during his date with Eve. In their future, a dictator with superpowers has taken over Earth and keeps people in fear. They ask Invincible to kill the villain, and it turns out this dictator is immortal. Years ago, Mark ruled Earth but left it, putting Immortal in charge. Something went wrong and Immortal went mad, deliberately setting up a dictatorship so Mark would return and kill him, ending his misery. A short battle ensues where Mark kills Immortal by ripping his head off. He learns Immortal can be resurrected if his head is reattached. Mark tells the time travelers and asks them to bring him home. Debbie starts dating a regular man named Paul and eventually tells him her ex is Omni-Man and her son is Invincible. Mark is initially angry, but realizes his mother is having a hard time, so he forgives her for revealing his secret. Eve returns to her parents wanting to mend their relationship. She and Mark realize they're adults who need to earn money, so they offer the superhuman prison their protection. If problems arise, they can call Invincible. Titan comes up with a plan manipulating both Invincible and Machine Head, who's in prison. The dragon attacks the prison defended by Invincible. Multia escapes. Machine Head kills the dragon boss and takes his place. When Titan demands the order leave his city alone. However, we see the dragon boss survived. A man named Scott had weak powers. He could absorb and redirect small amounts of energy. When Invincible and Omni-Man fought in Chicago, destroying half the city, Scott's sister and her child were killed. Scott hated Invincible and wanted justice. Scott staged a kidnapping, taking his wife and son hostage. Mark arrived and things got out of hand. Scott's wife and child were killed by his lightning bolts, after which he was sent to prison. Robot creates a special belt for Monster Girl, preventing her from getting younger during transformations. Alan and Omni-Man are shown in prison, where guards attempt to execute the one-eyed alien, but find no equipment can kill him. Alan can escape any time, but wants to win Omni-Man over, since they'll need help battling Viltrumites. Omni-Man won't listen, and is ready for execution. When two Viltrumites arrive for the execution, Alan realizes it's time for action. Alan stages a prison riot and frees Battle Beast that Invincible fought in Season 1. Alan succumbs to Viltrumites, and Omni-Man thinks his friend faces death, so he frees himself and begins fighting. The main characters win, and Omni-Man tells the most important secret. There are only about 50 pure-blooded Viltrumites left, so defeating them won't be as hard as it seemed. Battle Beast tears his Viltrumite opponent to shreds and is picked up by a spaceship. Angstrom survived after Mark turned him into a bloody mess. He teleports to another dimension asking cybernetic surgeons to restore him in exchange for a favor. He finds evil Invincibles in other universes and promises to help them take over their worlds if they help exact revenge on Mark. The villains start destroying cities one by one, killing everyone to make people fear the image of Invincible. Earth's superheroes try stopping the attackers, but forces aren't equal. Major cities are destroyed, and known characters die, including Rex, who sacrifices himself to save others, and Nightwing, who transported an evil Invincible to a dark dimension. After a few days, surviving Invincibles realize Angstrom won't keep his promise and want to kill him, so he takes them to a desert dimension. Mark finds the villain and fights him. He hesitates to kill Angstrom again, and the villain escapes. Angstrom turns to the surgeons again, but they realize his words aren't trustworthy and take him under control with a brain chip. Rebuilding cities after the evil Invincible's attack is underway. Mark is upset, believing it's partly his fault. Viltrumite Conquest arrives on Earth, unhappy that Mark hasn't prepared the planet for conquering. Mark fights back, but Conquest loves battles and has been bored lately. They engage in a long, brutal battle where thousands of innocent people die again. Cecil and other superheroes can't help, as they haven't recovered from the previous battle. Oliver comes to the rescue, and Conquest nearly tears him in two. Eve decides to help, but the villain mortally wounds her as well. Mark fights Conquest in desperation, but he's too strong. Eventually, Eve's innate limitations are removed at the threshold of death. She recovers and manages to wound the invader, and the crippled Mark finishes off Conquest. Though we see Cecil has placed Conquest in a special prison that can explode with nuclear blast at any escape hint. At Rex's funeral, Robot informs everyone he'll take Rex's nickname in honor of his fallen comrade. In the sewers, the surviving Sequid has multiplied and is ready to take over land. In the last frames, we see that in the underworld, Detective Damien Darkblood meets with the Demon Lord and informs him he's found an incredibly strong person on Earth who will help his master take his place on Hell's throne. If you want to catch every detail and connection when the new season drops in March, make sure you're subscribed with notifications on, and let me know in the comments which storyline you're most excited to see resolved.